you're changing like the wishing like coming to Lasyang green lettuce. Sprouting like dapat together. All right. More okay, more scientific forms of hydroponic began in the 17th century. The Englishman John Woodcard, 1699. John Woodcard is usually referred to as the first person to have raised plants in a tree solution. John Woodcard. John Woodcard was an English naturalist, natural history. Antiquary, aficionado or student of antiquities or things of the past. Water culture with spearmint known as the garden mint. He found that plants less pure water sources grow better than plants ba? So explain this line by line. Less pure water sources grow better than plants distilled water. This sentence describes that. Nice. This sentence describes his conclusion. Woodward discovered that spearmint plants grow in water from natural source like river or pond. Grown in water from natural source like river and pond or pond. Completely pure distilled water. Distilled, what is distilled water? Soil or dissolved mineral within less pure water provide the necessary nutrients for the plants to thrive. The pure water lack this essential mineral ion, proving that plants get their food from substances in the water, not just the water itself. This was the foundational discovery of plant science. Water that has been purified through distillation, a process where muto gyapon da ibisagon sa distilled water and pure. So plants can still grow in distilled water. A process where water is boiled into vapor and then condensed back into liquid in a separate container. This method removes impurities such as minerals. So starting in the early 19th century, scholars began to understand that plants need nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, calcium, sulfur, and iron. Kana lang. Later, around 1860, two German plant psychologists, Sachs and Knapp, recognizing how difficult it was to qualitatively and quantitatively study, recognizing the essential elements in plant grown in a medium as complex as the soil. Cultivated plants with their roots immersed in a solution of salts. Wala po kasabot. It tells that the time period around 1860 and introduces the case scientist Julius von Sachs, Wilhelm Knapp. There were German scientists who specialized in plant biology, physiology, which is the study of how plants function. Recognizing how difficult it was to qualitatively and quantitatively study the essential elements in plants grown in a medium as complex as the soil. This explains their specific scientific problem. They realized that soil is an incredibly complicated substance. Okay. So, na-realize nila na kung napakaraming nutrients doon sa lupa, mahirap i-determine kung ano talaga yung ina-absorb or kinakain ng plants. Qualitatively studying what elements are necessary para sa quality nitrogen, and studying how much of each element is needed quantitative measurement din ng quantitative. Cultivated plants with their roots immersed. This describes their ingenious solution. Okay. So, na-realize nila na difficult to study kung ano yung kinakain ng plants. Nitrogen, and then magkano kung nasa lupa. So, ang ginawa nila, cultivated plants with their roots immersed in a solution of salts. To To have complete control over the nutrients, they remove the soil from the equation entirely. They grow plants with the root placed directly into the water that contains specific measured mixture mineral salts. Salts, the chemical compounds that provide nutrients like potassium nitrate. Insert charts and NAP created the first true nutrient solution. This allowed them to precisely add or remove individual elements to see how the plants responded, which is how they scientifically determine the list of essential nutrients that form the basis of all modern hydroponic formulas today. Galing. Very nice. Mineral nutrient solution whose chemical composition was controlled within limits set by the purity of chemicals then available. Other researchers later showed that growth improved if the roots were aerated. What are you? What is lang Bisaya? Ano sa gihanginan? Gibutang sa hangin? Halimbawa sa paggamit aerated water, tubig nga gihanginan, tubig nga gibutangan og hangin, yuta nga gipasulod sa hangin aron mas maayo ang oxygen sa gamot. Other research later showed that growth improved if the roots were aerated. Kung makaginawa, kung makaon sa hangin. However, these were practices restricted to laboratories and aim at studying plant growth and nutrition. In 1929, William Frederick Gehrig, a plant physiologist from University of California, Berkeley, proposed using water culture methods to produce cultivated plants on a commercial scale rather than as a research tool. He called the technique aquaculture. Gehrig is pagbasa ni Gehrig later in 1937 at the suggestion of Setchell of the University of California, announced that the method was to be called hydroponics. Mas nice ko paminaw ng agriculture. Since the term water culture had previously been defined as the breeding of plants and aquatic animals. Hydroponics, the art and science of crop production in a liquid culture medium. So hydroponics derived from Greek hydro, which means water, and ponos, which means work, literally water that works, and is analogous to the word geoponics, the ancient term for agriculture. Other and new terms were coined later, such as nutriculture, and chemiculture, all indicating the principles illustrated above. Nutriculture, chemiculture. In hydroponics, Jeric cultivated vegetables, charge, radish, carrots, potato, etc. Cereals, ornamentals, and fruit plants, as well as flowers, using large tanks. He successfully bred tomato plants over 7 meter long in his laboratory. In 1936, Geraint and Taverniti showed that by heating the nutrient solution, it was possible to grow the tomato throughout the year and produce fruit for 8 to 9 months. In the late 1930s, two of the leading scientists of the University of California, Hoagland and Arnon, were commissioned to study hydroponics, and in 1938 published the Bulletin on Nutriculture, a term that included all methods of growing plants in a medium other than natural soil. One of the first success of hydroponic was 1936, on the island of Wake, Araki Atoll of Pacific, stopping pines. The production of the hydroponic vegetable was the only practical method of obtaining fresh vegetables for the passengers and crew of Pan America Airways. Fresh vegetables could not be shipped to the island of Wake due to the high cost and could not be bred because of the lack of lands. Hydroponics represented an ideal solution. Mauna ang success hydroponics was 1936. In 1936, it was possible to grow tomato throughout the year and produce fruit of 8 to 9 months. Subsequently, this technology was used in some limited application on the Atlantic and Pacific Islands during the Second World War. After the war, the University of Purdue spread hydroponics called Nutriculture in a series of popular bulletins that described the nutrient solution for both liquid and aggregate system. Despite the commercial interest, this cultivation system did not spread due to the high cost for the construction of the cultivation benches. About after 20 years, interest in hydroponics was renewed thanks to the advent of plastics that were used not only in greenhouse covers but also in cultivation products. Unsa ang materials nga gamit ani? Bench tray, Ames abs plastic vacuum model or UV resistant frame structure. Mama. Okay, here to. During the Second World War. Is that the materials used during the Second World War? And is that high cost? refers to the modern hydroponic system. So is that tomato yun? That goes as a gravel. Manual gravity. Military use hydroponics. Iwan sa may ay. Despite commercial interest, the cultivation siguro mahal. Iwan. In this desert location, the benefits of technology were motivated by the durability and advantage of solar radiation, which maximize photosynthetic production. Unfortunately, the soil crisis that began in 1973 increased the cost of heating and cooling controlled environment agriculture by 1 to 2 orders of magnitude. Oil crisis. This, together with the few chemicals registered for the control of pathogens, caused more than one failure. Research on hydroponics has continued. In the late 1970s, researchers from the Glasshouse Crops Research Institute in Great Britain developed a nutrient film technique. After 20 years, both among researchers and among farmers, especially in areas where there is more significant concern about pollution of groundwater caused by fertilizers and the use of chemical for soil disinfection. Today, although hydroponics is still a system little used with respect to the quantity of soil dedicated to protected crops, it is though that in a short term it will find more space in the agricultural panorama. The need to reproduce costs